It began as something almost too small to notice, just a faint glimmer buried deep within streams of digital data, a fleeting spark that might have been dismissed as an error or a glitch. Yet, that tiny anomaly grew into something far more significant, something that soon had scientists around the world staring at their screens with disbelief. Something unfamiliar had entered our solar system, and it was traveling with alarming speed. It didn't match the trajectory of any known asteroid or comet, nor did it originate from the far-off Oort cloud where icy bodies usually dwell. Its motion defied the patterns astronomers had come to expect from natural space objects. Even more unsettling was its point of origin, a region of the sky that had long unsettled scientists, the same stellar cluster that had once been associated with the mysterious and still unexplained WW signal. And now, from that same expanse of interstellar space, an object known as 3A Atlas was racing toward the heart of our solar system. The discoveries that followed only deepened the mystery. Observations from the James Webb Space Telescope revealed baffling phenomena trailing the object, peculiar jets of gas unlike anything previously documented, strange dark gaps carved into its light spectrum that shouldn't exist, and, most puzzling of all, a patterned transmission that appeared far too deliberate to be a random occurrence. This faint but structured signal seemed almost like a message, quiet, deliberate, and intended to be noticed. Scientists were left to wonder whether they were witnessing a natural cosmic event, an extraordinary coincidence, or evidence of something deliberately crafted to be found. The implications were profound, and the global scientific community was now focused intensely on this singular anomaly, aware that opportunities like this might never come again. From the very first detection, 3E Atlas defied expectations. It was traveling faster than any asteroid, comet, or natural interstellar object ever recorded, more than 61 kilometers per second, and had already crossed inside Jupiter's orbit, drawing closer to the sun. But its velocity, remarkable as it was, wasn't the only thing that raised questions. Its trajectory was unnervingly precise, tracing an almost mathematically perfect line that aligned exactly with the ecliptic plane, the flat disk on which all our solar system's planets orbit. The probability of such perfect alignment occurring by chance was almost non-existent, which immediately set off alarm bells. Unlike other interstellar visitors that enter the solar system from erratic, steep angles, 3I Atlas moved with an unsettling sense of purpose, hugging the planetary plane as though it were following a carefully plotted route. The projected path brought the object uncomfortably close to Mars, an ideal vantage point for our orbiters and probes to observe it before it slingshots around the sun. Curiously, however, it would never pass near Earth. When it reached its closest approach, our planet would be positioned on the opposite side of the sun, as if the object were consciously avoiding contact. This odd detail, more than anything, fueled speculation, and when astronomers traced its trajectory backward, they confirmed that it originated in a region of space that had been a source of both fascination and unease for decades, a place that Set 1 researchers had flagged repeatedly, a cosmic neighborhood that had whispered strange mysteries before. Now it seemed it might be whispering again. It's coming from Sagittarius, the same stretch of sky that once sent humanity one of the most famous and unexplained signals ever detected, the powerful and mysterious WOW radio signal. For decades, astronomers have wondered whether that strange transmission was a cosmic coincidence or a deliberate message. Now, something else is arriving from that very same direction, but unlike the silent signal of the past, this new visitor is far from quiet. As the object known as 3E Atlas pushed deeper into the inner regions of our solar system, astronomers around the globe turned their most advanced instruments toward it, including the Very Large Telescope in Chile and the James Webb Space Telescope, determined to uncover its secrets. What those instruments revealed, however, only made the mystery deeper. Normally, when sunlight heats a comet as it approaches the sun, its icy surface sublimates, turning into gas, and the heat also vaporizes metals trapped inside, releasing elements like iron and nickel together. This pairing is expected because both are forged in the same types of stars and are usually released side by side as a comet warms. But with 3 Atlas, that natural rule was broken. Webb's sensors detected nickel gas streaming from the object, but no trace of iron at all. It was as if one element had been deliberately held back while the other was allowed to escape. Such an imbalance isn't just unusual, it's nearly impossible to explain with any known natural process. The surprises didn't end there. Scientists also observed an unexpected surge of cyanide, a chemical that comets often release. But this time, its behavior was wildly abnormal. Instead of a slow, predictable increase as the object heated up, the cyanide burst forth forth suddenly and violently, as though it had been pressurized and released all at once. That kind of reaction is not what you'd expect from simple rock and ice interacting with sunlight. It looked more like the kind of rapid discharge you'd see from engineered systems, perhaps even something mechanical. This has led respected astrophysicists like Avi Loeb from Harvard to ask unsettling questions. What if 3A Atlas isn't a natural object at all? What if it's not a comet, but a machine? And if that's the case, who or what built it, and why is it here? Even beyond its strange composition and chemistry, perhaps the most unnerving feature of 3A Atlas is how it glows. Typically, a comet's brightness comes from sunlight reflecting off its surface and the dust and gas it releases. The more reflective area it has, meaning the larger it is, the brighter it appears. But when scientists calculated 3I Atlas's size based on its brightness, the numbers didn't make sense. Its light suggested it should be larger than Manhattan Island, yet telescope observations consistently measured it as being much smaller. That mismatch led to one astonishing possibility. 3A Atlas might not be reflecting light at all, and it might be generating it. And if true, that single fact would rewrite everything we understand about interstellar objects. Natural bodies don't produce their own light. Not comets, not asteroids, not any known fragment of debris drifting between stars. And yet this mysterious visitor seems to break every rule we thought was unbreakable. It is coming from a place already linked to one of the greatest cosmic enigmas in human history. It is behaving in ways nature shouldn't allow, and as it draws closer, each new observation only raises more questions. Questions that humanity may not be ready to answer. When scientists began tracking how heat spread across the surface of the object, they noticed something that made no sense at all. The heating wasn't balanced. One side absorbed far more energy, gave off brighter light, and vented gas in ways that didn't match the behavior of a normal spinning body. Instead of acting like a natural rock, it behaved as if it had vents or compartments hidden inside, almost like openings designed for exhaust. Suddenly, what had seemed like just another strange piece of space debris began to resemble a device, something built with intent rather than formed by chance. This wasn't just wild speculation. Back in 2017, the interstellar visitor Oumuamua showed movements and characteristics scientists still couldn't explain, but the anomaly was dismissed too quickly. Now with 3A Atlas, there was no ignoring the parallels. This time, lessons had been learned. If this thing really is powered, if it was made and sent deliberately, then the most important question is no longer what it is, but who created it, and why they sent it now. That question became even more urgent when a signal appeared. At first it was brushed aside, just a weak pulse buried in the data, easy to write off as background interference or random static. But the James Webb Space Telescope kept gathering more readings, and the same pattern appeared again and again. It wasn't noise, it was a pulse with a repeating mathematical order, too precise to be natural. When compared to fast radio bursts, pulsars, and even the legendary WOW signal, the similarities were undeniable. The pulse not only shared a frequency with the WOW signal, but also traced back to the exact same area of the sky, the Sagittarius constellation, a region long suspected to be holding secrets we still don't understand. The signal wasn't coming from deep space at all. It appeared to be moving alongside 3A Atlas itself, almost as if the object wasn't just shedding light and gas. It was transmitting something that changed everything. We weren't just observing a strange visitor from beyond the stars. We were intercepting a message. Maybe it wasn't meant for us, or maybe it was designed to be found only once we were advanced enough to recognize it. And to understand why 3 Atlas unsettles scientists so deeply, we need to revisit 2017, when an object called Oumuamua, the first confirmed visitor from another star system, shot past Earth. It was fast, silent, and deeply unusual. At first, it was labeled an elongated asteroid, but its movement broke the rules. It accelerated with no visible reason, no tail, no jets of gas or dust, nothing to explain the push. It was as if something had gently steered it, the way a spacecraft might adjust its path. Eventually, most researchers gave up on solving the mystery, but a few, like Avi Loeb, never stopped questioning. He argued that we had overlooked evidence of something deliberately constructed. Now, 3A Atlas feels like that mystery has returned. Only this time, it's far more unsettling. Unlike Oumuamua, which sped past before we could react, 3A Atlas is still here. It's still emitting strange signals, still releasing unusual gases, still maneuvering as if using gravity the same way our spacecraft do. If Oumuamua was a hint, then 3 Atlas might be the follow-up. A second encounter, a new opportunity, or perhaps something entirely different. And now, we're ready in a way we weren't before. Of course, we might be wrong about everything we think we know. As more more telescopes locked onto the object, some scientists began to question their assumptions. They weren't ready to go public with their theories, but they also couldn't hide their suspicions. What if this isn't just something artificial? What if it's intelligent, not in the way we imagine consciousness, but more like a presence waiting patiently in the darkness, watching? Its course is too deliberate, its bursts of acceleration too controlled, its silence too intentional. Even the gases it releases seem engineered, rather than the random byproducts of something breaking apart. It moves in such a way that it observes every major planet in the solar system while remaining unseen itself. The precision of its alignment feels more like an organized survey than a natural occurrence. Viewed from this angle, the situation becomes far more unsettling. There's no trace of iron, its trajectory is unnervingly perfect, it produces light in a way that defies what we know, and now there's a signal. It's as if something is watching us, not trying to communicate, not revealing itself, but silently observing, measuring our reactions, judging whether we're prepared, and possibly planning for something we don't yet comprehend. This doesn't feel like random exploration, it feels intentional, and just as strange as its movement and transmissions is its composition. Data from the James Webb Space Telescope revealed an unusual chemical mix, mostly carbon dioxide, cyanide, and nickel gas. Each of these might occur naturally, but appearing together in these quantities and release this rapidly and in this sequence points to something different. In space, nickel is always paired with iron, yet here iron is nearly absent. Cyanide can be present in comets, but never in such large amounts. And the high levels of carbon dioxide hint at either a completely new kind of object or something actively burning fuel. Scientists have even noted that certain advanced industrial processes, especially those involved in creating powerful engines or heavy metals, can release a very similar combination of gases when operating at extreme conditions. Picture a nuclear-powered spacecraft designed to withstand immense heat, constructed with rare materials and specialized coatings. Now imagine it nearing the sun, its outer layers expanding and cracking, releasing not frozen debris from melting ice, but fragments and exhaust from technology under stress. What we're seeing might not be the natural gases of a comet at all. It could be a failing machine leaking its contents into space. In the search for alien life, there's a chilling idea known as the dark forest hypothesis, which suggests that the universe may be full of civilizations, but none of them speak or reveal themselves because silence is the only way to stay safe in a dangerous cosmos. According to this theory, every intelligent species hides its presence, terrified that revealing its location might lead to its destruction by a more advanced civilization. Thinking about 3E Atlas in that context changes everything. What if it's not simply a passing visitor? What if it's a probe designed to look harmless and natural, programmed to avoid Earth, emit only faint signals, gather data, create maps, and send everything back to a distant origin? It never approaches our planet, never risks detection, and stays hidden. Yet it's fully aware we're watching. Maybe our discovery wasn't part of the plan. Maybe it was never meant to be seen. Or perhaps this is a test, not to initiate contact, but to measure how ready we are to understand something bigger. In a universe where silence is survival, even a single signal, whether deliberate or accidental, can change everything. It means something out there might now know we're listening. This leads to an unsettling question. Did we uncover a hidden message from the unknown, or did our act of observing alert someone, or something else? As 3A Atlas drifts quietly through our solar system, a critical moment is approaching. On October 3rd, 2025, it will pass near Mars, close enough for our instruments to capture more details than ever before. The Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, with its powerful high-rise camera, will be able to observe objects as small as 30 kilometers per pixel from that distance. Scientists are preparing to study every detail of its behavior, whether it emits its own light or reflects sunlight, whether it changes speed, shifts direction, or releases new types of gas. This may be the only chance in our lifetime to witness it up close. But there's one unsettling possibility no one can ignore. What if it simply disappears? As public interest in 3A Atlas has grown, something strange has already started happening behind the scenes. NASA has quietly stopped updating the public trackers that once showed its exact location. ESA has stopped making its telescope data public. Researchers who once had open access to archived information are now being denied, and whispers are spreading through the scientific community. People are being removed from projects without explanation, conferences are being canceled without warning, and completed research papers are being withdrawn or blocked for unclear reasons. Before long, scientists were privately referring to the situation as a data anomaly lockdown in encrypted emails and closed online forums. Some believe the object did something too extraordinary to reveal publicly. Others think world governments decided that the truth would be too disruptive if released. Whatever the reason, one thing is undeniable. The silence isn't just coming from the stars anymore, it's also coming from Earth. With traditional analysis failing to decode the strange signals from 3I Atlas, researchers turned to artificial intelligence, the most powerful tool available. They fed machine learning systems decades of radio data and gave them access to massive libraries of spectral information, instructing them to search for repeating structures, hidden patterns, frequency shifts, anything that didn't belong. The results stunned even the engineers who built the systems. The AI uncovered a repeating sequence that seemed to repair itself, a data structure resistant to noise and degradation. It resembled compression algorithms we use on Earth and even altered itself when interference was introduced. Most unsettling of all, it behaved like something interactive. It appeared to respond to queries, though with a delayed reaction, as if it had been waiting for input. For decades, those searching for extraterrestrial intelligence have hoped to find a signal like this, but no one expected the first reply to come hidden inside what looked like a comet rather than through a radio telescope. If this is truly communication, it means we're not the first civilization to build machines that can talk across the stars. But we might be the first foolish enough to talk back. As strange events unfolded and theories multiplied, and as the object continued behaving in ways nature couldn't explain, an unsettling idea resurfaced, one that physicists have debated for decades but never linked to real evidence. What if this interstellar object isn't a machine in the way we imagine, but something more fundamental? What if it's part of the code itself? If the theory that our universe is a simulation is true, then everything we know could be constructed, operating within invisible boundaries that only reveal themselves at their limits. This object seems to ignore basic chemistry, disregard momentum, emit structured information, alter its course without any visible force, and move with unmistakable intent. Could it be a kind of system alert, a built-in anomaly designed to test the edges of reality or masquerade as alien contact? And if so, why is it happening now? Could the rise of quantum computing or humanity's expansion of the internet into space be connected to something greater? Is it possible that the 3A Atlas objects didn't just come from beyond the solar system, but from outside the framework of our entire reality? Maybe they're not here to study us at all, but to remind us that we aren't truly in control of the system we think we understand. As scientists and space agencies investigate the mystery of 3I Atlas, other groups, less focused on solving it and more focused on containing it, are taking decisive steps. Insiders within the defense community claim that the US Space Force, together with agencies in Europe and Israel, has now classified all information about 3I Atlas at the highest security level, on par with nuclear launch codes or threats from hostile space activity. Why such an abrupt escalation? Some believe it's because surveillance satellites in high orbit detected electromagnetic emissions from the object, signals that weren't just highly structured but that shifted whenever they were observed. This suggests something far more unsettling. 3A Atlas isn't just transmitting, it's also listening. If it's truly listening, then every radar ping, telescope flash, and scan we aim at it might be revealing more about us than we realize. For the first time in decades, military strategists are discussing something once thought impossible. Not just how to make contact, but how to respond if contact turns hostile. Because if this object is capable of learning, the next question is whether it's capable of acting. While most people are focused on its current behavior, a few physicists have proposed an even more unusual theory. They believe the patterns we're seeing may not be random at all, but part of a larger design, a fractal map. According to this idea, 3I Atlas isn't just a visitor drifting through space. It's functioning as a guide. It's not a map in the usual sense, but a complex pattern that could reveal how stars align, highlight regions of unusual gravity, identify powerful energy fields, or even point toward undiscovered planets. Some researchers think it might even be using the sun as a giant lens to extend its vision deeper into the galaxy. If that's the case, what exactly is it trying to observe? What is 3A Atlas searching for? As scientists continue to unravel its mysteries, historical records are suddenly taking on new significance. Archived observatory logs describe unexplained unexplained lights moving across the sky centuries ago. Ancient stories from cultures around the world mention celestial visitors from the direction of Sagittarius, not as threats, but as bringers of knowledge. The Dogon people of Mali, for example, spoke of a star that drew close and left a message in the heavens long before humanity understood the scale of the universe. Adding to the mystery, old data from the Voyager missions in the early 2000s recorded electromagnetic bursts eerily similar to the signals we're detecting from 3i Atlas now. At the time, their meaning was unknown. This suggests that this object, or something very much like it, may have appeared here before, or perhaps in some way it never really left. Now, with more advanced technology, we're beginning to decode signals that once seemed meaningless. It's possible that what we're detecting is a repeating message, designed to make us aware of something far older than we ever imagined. In one final attempt to interpret the strange patterns coming from 3i Atlas, an international team of scientists decided to compare them to the Voyager 1 golden record, humanity's first deliberate message to the cosmos. The outcome stunned them. Portions of the signals from 3i Atlas closely mirrored sections of the mathematical sequences and musical patterns on the golden record. They weren't exact copies, but the resemblance in key segments was unmistakable. This couldn't be dismissed as coincidence. Somehow, the object appeared to be echoing humanity's first attempt to speak to the universe. But how could that be possible? For this to happen, the object would have had to capture Voyager's message, decode it, and then wait decades to send a similar one back. Or perhaps something even stranger is true. Maybe 3 Atlas existed long before Voyager ever launched, and its signal was what inspired us to create and send the golden record in the first place. Could it be that the message we sent into space was actually a reply, one we didn't even realize we were making, to a transmission we didn't know we'd received? And if that's true, who really made first contact? As the mystery surrounding 3i Atlas deepens, scientists studying extraterrestrial life are starting to consider a far larger possibility. They're thinking beyond a single visitor. They're beginning to imagine a silent network spread across the galaxy. According to this theory, 3i Atlas might not be operating alone. It could be one piece of a vast system of probes or signals scattered through space, each disguised as a natural object like a comet or asteroid, quietly observing the stars. Researchers have even started comparing the paths of other unusual visitors, like Borisov and Oumuamua, and are noticing subtle patterns, slight overlaps in timing, and mathematical consistencies in their trajectories that hint at something intentional. What if these encounters aren't accidents at all? What if each one is part of a coordinated plan, silently tracking the progress of civilizations, never staying long enough to draw too much attention, but always leaving behind just enough evidence for the next phase of observation to begin? Now that the 3 Atlas objects are passing through our region, they could be transmitting information back to something far beyond our reach, something hidden and distant. They might be reporting on everything they see, including how we react to their presence. It's possible that we aren't just observing them, they're observing us. When the James Webb Space Telescope first analyzed the 3 Atlas objects using thermal imaging, the results startled scientists and engineers. Instead of displaying a typical heat distribution like a rock warmed by the sun, with one side hotter and the other cooler, the object revealed an unusual thermal signature with 2 distinct hot points. These areas emitted steady heat regardless of the object's rotation or its exposure to sunlight. It was as if the object contained its own internal power sources, perhaps reactors or advanced energy systems, still functioning after an immense journey through deep space. Here on Earth, we've seen similar thermal signatures in our own spacecraft, especially those equipped with their own power systems, like radioisotope generators, thermal batteries, or even early nuclear propulsion units. That could mean something far more significant. If the 3 Atlas objects truly have regions that generate and regulate their own energy, then they're not comets, asteroids, or random chunks of cosmic debris. They're functioning machines, whatever their purpose, observing, collecting data, or transmitting information. They're doing it with such precision and autonomy that they seem almost alive, even though they show no signs of life. Not long after Atlas entered the inner solar system, shortly past 3 o'clock, something deeply unsettling began to happen, sending shockwaves through observatories across the globe. Signals from pulsars, cosmic lighthouses that are usually so stable they're used to calibrate deep space instruments, started arriving at unexpected times. At first, the delays were tiny, mere milliseconds, but they kept happening and gradually spread. It was as if these signals were passing through some kind of disturbance that warped space and time itself. The anomaly was traced not to the sun, solar activity, or any known source, but to the region around 3A Atlas. That led to a chilling possibility. The object might be distorting space around it, and it wasn't doing it through gravity. It seemed to be using technology, generating a field, a bubble, or some kind of lens capable of altering how light and time behave. If that's true, then this probe isn't just watching us. It might also be altering the fundamental laws of how things operate, and we may not understand the consequences until much later. While most scientists continue to rely on conventional physics and mathematics to explain 3A Atlas, a small circle of quantum physicists has been quietly discussing a far stranger possibility. They call it the reality collapse hypothesis. According to this theory, 3A Atlas isn't from another star system in the usual sense. It may have originated from an entirely different version of the universe. It's not just coming from another point in space. It could be arriving from another layer of reality itself. The idea suggests that certain objects can shift between quantum states, carrying with them the physical laws of another universe. When that happens, our systems, whether biological, physical, or structural, begin to fail under the pressure of conflicting rules. Could this be the reason for the unusual signals, the distortions in time, and the strange changes in Voyager's data? Could it explain why some of our space probes vanish or return altered? If 3 Atlas is pushing through the limits of dimensional logic, then we're not just encountering something alien. We're witnessing realities colliding, and the effects could already be rippling through our own. We are deep into a mystery that still lacks a proper name. A comet that isn't a comet, a trajectory that's too precise, chemicals that seem engineered, a signal too deliberate to be random, heat not produced by the sun, time that bends, matter behaving in ways it shouldn't, and a universe filled with silence, broken only by the low hum of something ancient moving just beyond the edge of our perception. Instead of uncovering what we expected, we may have stumbled upon something active, aware, and deeply unsettling. We thought we were reaching outward, but maybe we were being guided, not because it wanted to be found, but because we were finally ready to understand it. And amid all the data, theories, and fears, one quiet thought remains, shared only in whispers. What if the signal was never meant to communicate at all, but to mirror something back at us? A kind of test, not of intelligence, but of reaction. A design meant to expose our fears, our hopes, and our endless curiosity. Now that we've studied it and listened to it, we can't pretend it isn't there. Maybe the signal was never waiting for a reply. Maybe its purpose was to see how we would change once we believed we weren't alone. Because now we're not just peering into the cosmos, we're also confronting our own reflection. Perhaps we were the ones being studied all along. If this story sent a shiver down your spine, if you still question whether the 3 Atlas object is a comet, a machine, or something far stranger, share your thoughts. Tell us what you believe in the comments. Do you think 3 Atlas is real, or the beginning of something we were never meant to witness? Subscribe to this channel. We don't search for answers just for attention. We search for the clues others overlook.